This is The Speaking Show. I'm David Newman, and you're tuned in to the #1 podcast for speakers, consultants, and experts who want to speak more profitably. Tommi Griffith, ClickMinded. Welcome to the show, my friend.
David, thanks so much for having me. I really appreciate it.
So you have quite an interesting journey. I want to hear about, the good, the bad, the ugly, the beginning, the middle, the end. Let's start at the beginning, though. Just kind of a twist here. We're starting at the beginning. How did you come to found ClickMinded? I know you've done some great work with some big companies, some big brands, but paint us a picture of the professional journey that brought you to what you're doing today.
My story started by reading a book in a hammock. It was 2008. I graduated university right when the banks were crashing with the recession. Couldn't find a job, didn't know what to do. And I read this book. Not sure how familiar your audience would be with it, but it's called The 4-Hour Workweek by Tim Ferriss.
Sure.
You familiar with this one?
Totally.
Yeah, so it's probably a little bit dated now, but the concepts are still good in it. It was basically this book that was the catalyst for a lot of people to create internet businesses, right? You could sell online and travel while you grow your business and kind of selling the dream, right? The big dirty secret is no one in the history of reading that book has ever worked just 4 hours. That's, a giant scam. Probably the first clickbait title ever, right? But so read this book, got really interested in internet marketing. My first digital product was an ebook. I wrote a very dorky ebook and then thought to myself, how do I get it ranking to the top of Google? Did that and ultimately ended up starting a business a year later with a friend of mine that failed miserably. I was teaching English in Japan and we ended up going to Taiwan and we started this is really random, but we started a medical tourism facilitation company. Basically, Americans that were looking for surgery overseas, we were specifically targeting 45 to 65-year-old Americans interested in knee and hip replacement surgery in Taiwan. And it was about as random as it gets. But it sounds like it's like a healthcare play. It's not. It was an internet marketing play. We were basically trying to get our site ranking for knee replacement cost and knee replacement, alternatives and things like that. The one upside of the whole thing was I learned internet marketing. I learned search engine optimization and I learned paid search. I've been doing search engine optimization for 10 years now. But every other aspect of the business was a complete failure. I mean, we did everything wrong, right? And I remember the moment that we had to give up. I was in Taiwan, so working the opposite hours of the US. So it was 2 a.m. I was on Skype, sitting in my underwear, talking to this woman in the middle of Illinois about the possible implications of deep vein thrombosis. And I was in so far over my head, it was unbelievable. And just the next morning, I was like, wave the white flag, I give up. Called dad for the $400 bailout for the one-way ticket home and was like, hey mom, hey dad, remember me, your son? Is there room on that couch? It was brutal. I failed. It was kind of I was very beat up about it, but it just ended up being the right place, right time where people were hiring people working on search engine optimization, and PayPal was hiring for an SEO manager. I ended up moving to San Francisco and starting a career there. So I managed search engine optimization at PayPal for 2 years, and I managed search engine optimization at Airbnb for 4 years after that. That's sort of the backstory to the business, right? I was managing search engine optimization at these big tech companies, but I had all this debt from the first project, right? And so I started this sort of side business called ClickMinded. It started as an offline SEO training course. So physically teaching in person, it moved to an online course. Now we've expanded to 7 different courses. We have a number of different instructors, and we teach marketers and entrepreneurs how to do digital marketing.
Wow, really interesting. Well, and before we turn the microphones on, you mentioned that, a lot of people think that this started online and it's growing online, but you said that you started teaching in person. That was local workshops, or kind of you did public seminars, or how did that start out in its infancy as a live event?
Yeah, it's a really good question. And yeah, we were chatting about this before. A lot of people, especially people in the information space or the online course space, they kind of want to create an online course. And then later on, they're like, oh crap, I need to get better at speaking, right? I need to have a better media presence, or I need to be more articulate. And they kind of figure these things out afterwards. This was accidentally, and this was not intentional at all. I'm only realizing I did this right in hindsight, but it was a massive advantage for me to start offline. So at the time, my boss had asked me to do a class for my colleagues at PayPal, and I just sort of put one together, like a 2-hour workshop. People really liked it. And the first version of the business was I would go to a co-working space in San Francisco. I would rent out the room, and it would be like Saturday morning, 9 a.m. to 5 p.m., kind of all you can SEO. We would just like nerd out on search engines, and entrepreneurs and startup founders and marketers would come in, and we would like just be dorks looking at their websites, figuring out how we could increase their traffic. That particular business was terrible. Like it just did not work. You know, I really loved it. I love teaching. I love public speaking, and I love search engine optimization. But the actual mechanics and economics of the business really weren't that good. It ended up being just kind of the right place, right time again with this online course, online learning renaissance we're in right now, right? I don't know if you're familiar with Udemy, online course marketplace.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So 2012, they were just starting to blow up, and I ended up taking my offline course and putting it online. Again, in hindsight, I think what I accidentally did right was, you know, there were a number of other people creating online courses, but especially in the internet marketing space, there's so many people that just, they don't want to leave their basement, right? Like they open up their laptop, they speak into their microphone, and they talk over their PowerPoint slides. And it is incredible how much further along I was able to pull the product forward because I was speaking in person, right? And so I probably only had to do 10 or 15 classes, like one-day classes, but the amount of feedback you get, you know, as I'm sure I don't have to tell you, is incredible, right? If you create an online course and you launch it, you don't get the feedback until someone leaves you a 1-star review, right? But when you are teaching offline, you see it in their expression immediately. You know when you suck, you know when you're awesome. You learn those things really, really fast, and you can fix them on the fly. So I accidentally had a massive advantage by starting offline, by focusing on my speaking initially. And then once that was really dialed in, once I pulled it online, the product was so far ahead of anything else that I ended up getting a massive advantage pretty quickly.
Yeah, no, that's really cool. I'm wondering when you said, you know, a lot of people do the voice over PowerPoint. Even though guys like you and me, we have an awful lot of in-person stand-up training and speaking experience, do you still do the voice over PowerPoint, but now it's much more dynamic, much more interesting, much more engaging? Or do you do like what we're doing now to record this episode where you're doing video with the camera on you?
We do actually 3 different types. So the primary one is, in front of the camera. We have different combinations of the most complex one is we actually rent studio time and we actually do sort of high production value stuff. That's what people generally like the most because it just feels like a higher quality product. The next version is, person in front of webcam, kind of quick updates. There's just a lot more personality and interaction behind it. The next version down from that is, we call them over-the-shoulder walkthroughs. So that's not being on camera, but you're actually going through, right, using a tool and talking through it. And that's just kind of the only way you can really do that. Sometimes you just need to visually show it. And then we do actually have some voice over PowerPoint, but it's kind of like the very end after. It's not the core experience of the product. It's like, hey, by the way, Pinterest updated their terms of service. I want to do a quick overview of what that means, right? Or like, hey, these email marketing changes happen. I just want to send you guys a quick update now. Something like that.
Yeah, for sure. Well, boy, I've got like a million questions for you, but we have to take them one at a time only because we've got one mouth and one brain. So when people go to clickminded.com, they can get one course, they can get all the courses, and unless I'm missing something or there's some secret stuff that's not obvious on the website, right now we're in the one-time sale business. We're not doing membership. We're not doing recurring revenue. Tell me about that.
So I played with pricing a lot. Pricing's really hard, especially for for anyone listening that has a product and maybe they're in the infant stage or they haven't fully developed it yet. It's absolutely fascinating, and I still don't fully understand it. My favorite example of this was that dorky ebook I mentioned at the beginning. I wrote this book. It was a 60-page ebook. I started selling it for $10. Nobody bought it. I dropped the price to $5. Nobody bought it. And then I increased the price to $47 and 250 people bought it. Right? So I don't fully understand pricing, but where we are now at this point, yes, you're right. So the majority of our courses are kind of one-time fee. and we offer unlimited lifetime access and free updates for life. So it's actually one of our value propositions is you sign up once and you never sign up again, and we push updates to the course as it goes along. The first thing people say when they're giving feedback on the business is, that's dumb. You can't monetize your customers over time. Why are you doing this? What's the thinking there? But one thing I would stress entrepreneurs think about is customer lifetime value and churn, right? So like we thought about this a lot. And one thing we were thinking of was, okay, what if we opened up all the content to everyone and it's like, $50 to $100 a month? And if you look at modern web applications that do this, if you look at the MRR kind of model, and this isn't for anyone, and I'm speaking very basics. I'm sure there's people who like specialize in MRR economics, right? I'm not one of these guys. But one of the things we sort of understood was, the modern web application costs or a SaaS product is like $30 to $100 a month, but churn is usually around like the 3 or 4 month mark, right? And so if you think about your customer lifetime values, a lot of people, even though they have a monthly recurring product, a lot of their customer lifetime values are pretty low. And so looking at it exclusively from your customer lifetime value idea, we kind of said, what if we just make the product so compelling that like basically an entrepreneur could sign up? It's like, I'm going to pay for digital marketing one time in my life and then never again, and just continually find these people. So it is a risk. Like we can't monetize those users in the future, but it's also really cool. Like we have people that signed up in 2013 when we push out updates, they're just like so grateful. They write us emails, they tweet about us and tell their friends about us. And they're like, they can't believe they're still getting updates from us for something they purchased 5 years ago. So that part is kind of cool as well.
Hey, this interview is a real moneymaker. If you're serious about ramping up your reach and revenue as a speaker, trainer, or expert, book a confidential speaker strategy call with our team. The link is doitmarketing.com/call. It will be the most valuable 45 minutes you invest in your speaking-driven business. Speaking of value, let's get back to the show. So let's talk about growth, because I think, I love that you're really a student of the game. And I always tell people that, in my opinion, the master, someone who's mastered something or has attained mastery, the master is always the student, right? It's not like you arrive and then you stop studying, stop thinking, stop innovating, stop changing things up. So I love that you're a student of the game. When you're looking at your, one-time investment in one course or a one-time investment in all the courses. And we're going to link people up when they go to thespeakingshow.com right under this episode. You'll get clickminded.com. You'll get the awesome strategy guide that Tommi's talking about, all kinds of cool stuff waiting for you there. I guess my question is, do you do joint ventures? Do you do a lot of webinars? Do you do guest blogging? Obviously, we know you do guest podcasting because you're here with me now. But how else are we spreading seeds? And how are you incentivizing your super loyal, super grateful client base who got like the deal of the century between you and me? They got the deal of the century. How are you incentivizing them to spread the word and become your sales force?
Right. Interesting. By the way, the master is still the student. That's a great one, David. You got to put that on a mug or something like that.
It's going on the Do It Marketing calendar 2020.
There you go. I'll sign up for that one for sure.
There you go.
Yeah. So we've played with a lot of different stuff, and we have run a lot of different experiments on what works and what doesn't for us. Unfortunately, there is no silver bullet. It really comes down to what your own personal strengths and unfair advantages are and who your customers are as well, right? So we've tried everything you just described. We do a lot of webinars, and we've had a lot of success with joint webinars. Podcasting now, as you can see, this is pretty meta to call that out. We had a really, really hard time with affiliates. And I think specifically because we're in the internet marketing sort of space, and the internet marketing space is gross. There's just a lot of dirty players in it, and they do really dirty things, and it's gross. And we had a lot of problems with that, so we don't do that. So, right, we teach digital marketing, and the vast majority of our users are coming, of course, through digital marketing, SEO, like one of our biggest drivers, right? Our email marketing automations close a lot of the users. So we do everything that we teach in the course. That's the vast majority of where our sales come from.
I want to go down the catalog because I think almost everything that you teach, and the other thing I want to give you huge credit for is these are very complex topics, and you are democratizing and popularizing them. meaning you're saying, come on in the pool. It's not that bad. Let me show you how to swim. And, SEO, people are like, oh, it's like I've studied 74 years. I have 3 PhDs in SEO and I still can't figure it out. Or, of course, all the SEO consultants want you to think that, oh, you couldn't possibly do this yourself. It is massively complex and it would take you 17 years to optimize, one blog post. It's like, no, it's not true. So let's talk first about the SEO training. And here, I'm guessing that your challenge was, how do I boil it down? Because you have massive, massive enterprise level knowledge of SEO. Now you're teaching a small to medium-sized company marketer, or you're teaching an individual entrepreneur like us, hey kids, come on in the SEO pool. It's not that bad. But you're not doing, here's how PayPal does it. You're not doing, hey, here's how Airbnb does it, because they probably have an entire team of people that you manage, and they've got millions and millions of dollars of budget to put behind it. So out of your vast encyclopedic knowledge, how did you know what the absolute essentials were that would get people maximum results without overwhelming them?
There were 2 big dirty secrets about getting this course kind of in the state that it is now. Actually 3. The first one is that we're now on year 8 of this business. And so the business is doing great right now, but I was getting my butt kicked for 7 years, right? For 6 years. So it took a while to get it going. The 2 big dirty secrets are and you probably know this better than anyone, the single fastest way to learn something is to teach it, right? And so a lot of the fun in the early days was playing around with stuff, being really interested in it personally, experimenting with a bunch of stuff. And then when you're forced to teach it, you can't BS your way through it, right? You see the expression on people's faces, especially with the way I taught the classes. My classes were always, 2 to 4 people. And you can't just you're not like the conference speaker at the main stage, talking to thousands of people about really high level ideas. You're in someone's website, trying to explain these really technical concepts. So it just forces you to simplify, to continue to simplify and get more and more succinct with how you teach it, right? So that was the big thing. And then the other one was what we talked about earlier, was going offline. It's a bunch more work to do things in person. There's no doubt about it, but you will figure out right away what resonates with people and what sucks and what doesn't, right? And so in the early days, a lot of sort of the other people that were creating these courses, they would try and kind of be the encyclopedia and quickly go through their screen and go through their slides and basically use really big words whenever they didn't fully understand the concept, hoping people would just not ask questions and move on, right? And so when you're forced to put yourself in a room and teach someone, it's just this natural forcing function that gets you to start to simplify things. And every time someone says, oh, I got it, you mark that moment in time and you say, this is how to do this. There's really no other answer other than doing the grunt work, unfortunately.
Now that in-person testing, when you did these in-person seminars, classes, etc., were those free? Were those kind of pilot clients, beta clients? Did you charge a little bit of money? Did you charge a lot of money? How did you monetize some of those in-person test drives?
Yeah. So the route I took with this, and I actually still think this is the single most underrated channel possible. So the short answer is yes, the business started by actually charging for these classes, but the first couple were not. And I have a lot of strong opinions on how to start an in-person kind of teaching business now. I think still today, one of the most underrated ways to start a business and to bootstrap an email list is meetup.com. And it's really interesting how overlooked this is. And it comes down to the same concept of most of your competitors don't want to get out of their basement. So I started a meetup group on meetup.com. I think it's $15 for 3 months to start a meetup group. I mean, it's nothing. And when you start a meetup group, Meetup will immediately email everyone in your city who's interested in those topics, right? And so I started the San Francisco SEO meetup. I held one happy hour at a bar in San Francisco. Just said, this bar, Thursday, 6 p.m., it's happy hour. Let's nerd out about internet marketing and search engines. A bunch of people showed up. After that meetup, within 3 days, I had 100 people in San Francisco on an email list, right? For $15 and one happy hour, you cannot really ask for much more, right? From there, I was kind of working on the product. I had the V1 of the course ready and I wanted to teach it. And I used the Meetup group. So I found a co-working space. And this is actually key for anyone who's actually thinking about this. There's a lot of strong opinions out there on whether or not you should do stuff for free. The general consensus for most entrepreneurs is, and like a lot of startups, is don't work for free. And I can understand that because when I was younger, I did this a lot. I tried to start like different agencies and consultancies and I would work for free, and it can often send you in the wrong direction. So I understand that feedback, but I still really wanted I really wanted a bunch of people in my class. I wanted to get the feedback and I was too nervous to charge. So the way I went about it was I said, hey, I'm teaching this SEO course, normally $500 per user. It's free for the first 20 people to email me. And this is interesting because it changes the psychology a little bit. And people on Meetup are flakes. It's always like an under 50% attendance rate. But if it has a price tag and then you get a promo code for it, the behavior changes a lot, right? And so if you do decide to do something for free, even though it's against the general consensus, I did it as well. But the key is normally X number of dollars, it's free for these number of users, right? I ended up taking that Meetup group, getting a bunch of great in-person feedback. I think I taught 2 classes for free. And then the third one, I started charging.
Super quick commercial break. Isn't this interview amazing? If you'd like to get more ideas on how to start or grow your speaking business fast, pop over to our free training at doitmarketing.com/webinar. Now, the Meetup group is still running today or no?
It is running today. I no longer live in San Francisco, so I handed it off to someone else to run. Yeah.
And so when you were in this incubation period after the happy hour, did we have monthly meetups? I mean, what was your meetup schedule? Obviously, there were still some people that wanted to be connected to you on the meetup level who did not take the first 2 free with a coupon courses, and then who also did not necessarily pay the $500 or $1,000 for future courses, but they wanted to stay in the meetup group, correct?
Correct. And this is a great question. And this is very specific to Meetup, just to give a little more like nuggets to anyone who's listening and thinking about this. And there's probably non-Meetup alternatives as well. There's probably other ways to do this. There's probably like offline Facebook groups and other things you could adjust the strategy for. But the general point here is like going offline is more work and therefore there's less competitors when you do it, right? One technical little trick you can do here is the minute your Meetup ends, set up the event for the next one. Because when you go onto Meetup, there's 2 different ways to search. One is searching for groups and one is searching for upcoming events, right? And then configure the settings so that it's free to join and RSVP and that you automatically join the group when you RSVP. So that key is people are going to meetup.com and they're looking at the calendar and they're RSVPing to things, they get automatically added to that group, right? So even if you're not entirely sure if you're going to have another event, set it up a month away. And what happens is, depending on the interest in your city, you'll add 5 to 25 people a day to your Meetup group, which effectively becomes your mailing list. And then, yes, there is a problem, what you were just alluding to around, okay, how much work do you have to do to keep this thing going, right? Mine was pretty easy. I would do 1 happy hour a month. And at the time, I was probably going to be drinking beers on Thursday night anyways, right? So selfishly, that's the great part about running your Meetup group is you can set it around your life and your schedule. But you do run the risk of eventually, like if you no longer have use for the group, like people could start to get annoyed or things like that. Maybe have a plan in place to give it to someone else if you don't want to keep going. But the 80-20 is like getting it started, hosting 1 or 2 events, and meeting all these people. But I have to admit, I mean, I still am in contact with a lot of the people from that early group today. We've done business together and we've been friends and all kinds of stuff like that. So it's been very helpful for me.
Yeah, what a fantastic strategy. Thank you for sharing the detail on that. I want to go down just a couple more ClickMinded courses, and we don't have time to talk about all of them, but we'll have to have you back. We'll have you back on the show. We'll talk about 3 or 4 now. We'll talk about 3 or 4 later.
Sure.
I think one thing that really has people chasing their tail way too much, and I'm sure you've got some strong opinions and some philosophies about this, is content marketing. People say, oh my God, I am blogging my brains out. Tommi, I'm tweeting my face off. I am posting on LinkedIn. I got long form articles. I'm on Quora. I'm all over the place. And I've never got a shred of business, they say. I've never got a shred of business from any of my content, dude. Content marketing is a scam. Content marketing is BS. I quit. I'm not blogging. I'm not putting out videos. I'm not sharing content on social media. When you hear that, and I'm sure you do, and that's why people sign up for the course, they're like, what the hell is the content marketing secret that turns content marketing into actual prospects and leads and sales? What's the missing ingredient for most of us when it comes to conversion around content marketing?
So I think a couple of mistakes that people make. The first one, and it's a little bit more meta, just backing up a little bit. The first one is not being super dialed in to your customer avatar, right? Like who your actual users are. The only reason why I can speak to this is because I'm so guilty of this myself for many, many, many years. You have this like entrepreneurial idea seizure in the shower, right? And you're like, today I'm going to write about this. And you just sit down and you hammer something out. And there's a bunch of problems with that. And I really like taking this strategy of going really, really, really heavy investment in the sort of meta things before all the content marketing. So the first example is your customer avatars. The next example is your keyword research. And I really like investing in these upfront to the point where like you'll spend days or even weeks on them, maybe at the beginning of the year, and you set your strategy in stone for a year, even 2 years. One example, and my now co-founder was really good about this, and I was really bad about this, is with our customer avatars. So at ClickMinded, we have 3 customer avatars, right? Entrepreneurs, in-house marketers at large companies, and consultants or agencies, right? Those are our 3 kind of people. But in order to determine that, we probably did 50 phone calls with users. And they were brutal phone calls, like 45 minutes long, going really deep, who are you? How old are you? Are you single? Are you married? Did you go to university? What's your salary? Do you have kids? What do you do on the weekends? What are you trying to do at work? What's your dreams? What's your hopes? Like very, very intrusive and personal. And we started to find really interesting stuff. This is going to sound really dorky, but I thought, for example, all of our agency and consultant customer avatars, like the single thing they wanted is like grow their business, grow their agency, increase sales, like everyone wants, right? And one of the guys I got on the phone with, he said, the ultimate takeaway after the call was basically, yeah, we're enrolled in ClickMinded and I'm using my team. I'm using ClickMinded to train up my team and my entry-level employees because I want to spend more time with my son. And it's like, it's super dorky and I'm not trying to have like a Hallmark moment here, but it was like, it blew my mind because I realized like the kind of stuff we were really selling speed. We were really selling give your time back and things like that, right? And so freedom's a great example, right? For that guy to go spend more time with his son. And so I thought, I was way too in the weeds, like total addressable market sizing and like different sort of tools and what WordPress plugins to use. But really we were unlocking this guy's calendar for his son. So even though I'm saying this now, the vast majority of people listening aren't going to do this because it's hard. You have to get on the phone with your customers. It's brutal. Getting people to commit to it, it's really hard. And also, while you're doing it, you feel like you're not working on your business. It's one of these things where you feel like you're not moving the ball forward. So no one does it. So I highly recommend icing this, like getting it rock solid and really understanding who your users are. Then once you've done that, I'm a huge proponent of keyword research. So I'm not sure how familiar the audience is with SEO, but the high level idea is we can use third-party tools to figure out how frequently people are Googling things, right? So if I'm a nutrition blogger, I can find that, paleo carrot cake is searched for 1,000 times a month and keto chocolate cake is searched for 5,000 times a month. And I can sort of lay all these out into an Excel doc or a Google sheet and figure out how frequently they're searched for. Once I know exactly who my customer avatars are and exactly what the search volume is for a lot of these terms, you can lay out your content marketing strategy document and you can be very methodical about it. And then once you understand the total addressable market of everything your customers are searching for and you know exactly who they are, the last piece of this is that the world is so extreme now, right? That like everything is moving to either end of the spectrum. There's no middle ground. And like the simple example of this is, okay, that example we used before, if someone's Googling, paleo carrot cake, Google's going to say that there's 20 million different results, but they're only going to give users 10. The point is that like you have to be so extreme about this. You have to be in the top 10 out of 20 million, right? In that particular example. And so this is why not only understanding your customer avatars really well, but finding places where you have an unfair advantage is really, really helpful. So the high level, long-winded answer to the question is that most people think content marketing is a scam because their content marketing sucks. It's because they don't understand their customer avatars. They haven't done the keyword research and they're not in the top 10. They're not the top 10 best possible documents that could be this thing. So again, I made this mistake as well. We used to have hundreds of different types of content at ClickMinded. And right now we have 45 posts. That's it. And like, we're just focusing on trying to be the best at a very small number of things. So if you're in this world of like, I post 10 times a day and nothing's happening, I highly recommend slowing down, figuring out your avatars and then maybe trying to focus on just one thing and absolutely hammering it until you're the best at it.
Great, great advice. Not just for content marketing, but for your entire business, right? All right. Well, I've got a couple more questions for you. This has been so fantastic, Tommi. This is just like a master class in both entrepreneurship and marketing and resilience and product development and everything else. Among your clients, among those buyer personas that you just mentioned, you've got some big giant companies, right? We've got WeWork, Microsoft, UNICEF, Cornell, Liberty Mutual. And I noticed that you've got a link when people go to clickminded.com and it says Teams. So you are now licensing to either hundreds or thousands or maybe even tens of thousands of corporate employees. How did the licensing strategy come to you? What's your licensing pricing thought process? We don't need to know about the pricing, but how do you know, like, okay, Microsoft needs like 10,000 seats to ClickMinded. Okay, how do I price that? Like, what's my reference point? Where do I go to figure that out? So talk about the licensing play and how that's going and then the future of that.
So long story short on that is I have no idea what I'm doing. And I'm basically like a child flailing my arms, kicking and screaming and bumping into walls is kind of where.
All right, Microsoft, the time to buy more seats. Go now before Tommi figures it out.
Exactly. Any big companies that want to absolutely use and abuse clickminded.com because we have no idea what we're doing, feel free. Email me, Tommi at clickminded.com. Yeah, I mean, the high level idea, like we have a lot of users that don't want to onboard employees, like especially agencies and big companies, entry level employees or maybe kind of, 2 to 5 years experience employees. They want an outsourceable way to teach digital marketing. They don't want to just give people a bunch of YouTube links and blog posts. They want like a methodical way to go about doing it. With pricing, we're really still trying to figure it out. Everything is case by case. At a really high level, we obviously give a deeper and steeper discount based on how many seats you're signing up for. Everyone kind of wants something different. We're also looking at a lot of white label stuff as well. So like taking our content and putting your logo on it, allowing you to do client facing and things like that. To be frank, it's very early days for us. And also, I really, really suck at outbound sales. I'm really bad at it. And it's just, we've had so much more success with users come in, they find us through however they find us, mostly search engine optimization and digital marketing stuff in general, but word of mouth as well. And they basically say, I love this. I'm trying to force my boss to get everyone to sign up. It's been inbound. It's been very natural. We've had a lot more success with it as opposed to forcing it with outbound. I know there's so many people and I have friends and people I follow and look up to that swear by outbound sales. And there's billion-dollar companies based on outbound sales, and having a sales organization is like a whole different sort of monster. But as of right now, we're really bad at it. And so it's just one of these things where we're getting much more focused on the things where we have an unfair advantage and where we can be a ton of value. And so one of the things I think we're going to switch to is not doing as much or any at all outbound stuff and really just focusing on continuing to improve the product and then maybe reaching out to current users and saying, hey, by the way, it looks like you're really enjoying this. Do you have a team that would be interested in rolling? Something like that.
Now, I want to talk about resisting temptation, because I am sure that in all three of your buyer personas, people get in, even though you've done a great job simplifying, democratizing, step by step, break it down, make it as simple as humanly possible to maximize their results. Certainly on the smaller side, maybe the entrepreneurial side, the solopreneur side, they just throw up their hands. They go, oh, this is a great course. It really is great. I don't have time or interest in learning this. Tommi, can I hire you? Can I hire your company? Can I hire ClickMinded to do this for me? Is there a done for you? Can you be my agency? Can you just take this off my plate? I'm guessing, I don't know, but I guess I'm asking, do you take on done for you clients? Do you have a very hard boundary saying, no, that's not my business model? And if that's the case, how do you resist that temptation when you see possibly a big check coming your way?
Have you been just like following me around for years of my life and understanding all my fears and nightmares?
Pretty much.
Yeah, you got it. That's exactly what happens. And actually, I highly recommend, if you are in the services businesses, the online course is an incredible, in our business, like we'll call it a lead magnet or a tripwire, basically having a really high value product where people say, hey, this is great, but actually I trust you now, you do it. And there's a lot of people that do this. So I do highly recommend, if you are in the services businesses, online course or a mini course or something like that is a great way to grab those leads. So at a high level, no, we don't do this. And I have played with it a lot. I've tried in the past to start an agency like 3 times and every time failed miserably. And part of it is because of you just need to be so good at like operations and being efficient and balancing do the work for the client, keep the client's expectations. It's just an entirely different game. And this is the beauty of running your own shop and doing a quote unquote lifestyle business is because if we had investors, they wouldn't be happy about us leaving all that money on the table, right? And if we had goals and other people to satisfy, we'd be in big trouble here. The other thing too that a lot of internet marketers do is like, okay, they have the $10 ebook and then the $500 course and then the $10,000 mastermind and then the $20,000 like week-long retreat in the Bahamas or something. And this is kind of the escalation that people go through when they're monetizing their audience. We've left all that on the table as well. Like our goals they're not as revenue-based. They're just kind of more based on where we have an unfair advantage, right? So we would really suck at throwing a conference. I'll tell you that right now. And when I go to the Bahamas, I want to sit on the beach and drink Mai Tais. I don't want to be working on people's businesses, right? And so it becomes very much a personal sort of choice. Another example is we've decided we don't want to sell the business anytime soon, but our breaking point for selling isn't a revenue goal. It's if we ever need HR, right? Like if the business ever gets to the point where we need HR and have to like look at like 401ks and like sexual harassment policy, like that's where I'm out. You know what I mean? I can't do it anymore after that.
That's called the hashtag no HR.
Right.
Hashtag no HR.
There you go. That's a good one.
That's my gift to you. Feel free to use it as much as you want to.
I will. I might have to steal that one from you, David.
Hashtag no HR.
Yeah, we've had a lot of those. And it's very easy to get thrown off into places where you become very mediocre, right? And so it's just like short-term revenue and it's really hard to resist it, especially at the beginning. And to be frank, I actually up to whatever your first milestone is, if it's $10,000 a year or $100,000 a year, I'm actually okay with sort of taking everything that comes in the door to a point. It's just going to be a brutal sort of process of figuring it out. But you get to a point where the actual long-term move is to relentlessly avoid these things. I mean, relentless. And even within that, so not only do we not accept consultants and agency sort of work, but I'm not really stingy with that. Like whenever people ask digital marketing or SEO questions, I'm usually replying within 30 minutes, right? I'm happy to be helpful. But the other piece too is even within our core product, which is all self-serve, it's all a digital product. When we know customers, this is controversial, but we actually have an update in the course going out this week about this around reputation management. Because a lot of people say, okay, how do I make sure my brand looks good on Google? How to make sure everything's 5-star review when people Google a brand. One of the biggest hacks we have to this is relentlessly denying customers are going to be a problem. And so we have been ruthless about this. So our FAQ is really built out. We've had so many requests over the years. Everything is in there. And whenever people are emailing, it's almost always because they're a bad fit for the product. And if you look at the site and you hear this and you're thinking, okay, I can't email Tommi now because he thinks I'm going to be a bad fit. That's not true. You can email me. But it's always people who it's that classic 80-20, right? Like 20% of the customers cause 80% of the problems kind of thing. And we have just violently, relentlessly told these people we're not a good fit. And it is crazy how people react because people can't believe you would leave revenue on the table. They can't believe it, right? And we're not rude. We're not anything like that, but it's just like, hey, I don't think this is going to be a good fit for you. Let me know if you have any questions. 50% of people, when you say something like that, 50% of people immediately reply and they're like, I'm so sorry. I was being a jerk. I'm happy to sign up now. And the other 50% lose their minds and then stomp off and storm away. But it's just been this thing around like relentlessly knowing exactly who our customers are and then not getting off that track.
Totally love it. Wow. Wow. Well, I'm going to ask you 2 final questions. The second question out of the 2 is going to be, how do people get connected and stay connected to the Tommi empire and the ClickMinded empire? Before that, I want to ask you, if people were to take one key thing away from our conversation about business, about internet marketing, about digital marketing, about your own journey and all the great lessons and value bombs that you've dropped on us, what would you hope that one key concept or takeaway would be?
Ooh, one key concept. So I think the biggest thing, again, this is in hindsight, I realized I did this right, not knowing I did this right at the time. It depends on where you are, whether people are listening and they have their own business, or if they're working for someone else and they're thinking about jumping to doing their own thing. One thing I did right, I realize now, was there's a term going around in entrepreneurial circles called exit velocity. There's this guy, Dan Andrews. I'm friends with him. He runs a podcast called The Tropical MBA. And he coined this term called exit velocity. I'm just pulling up the definition here. It says, exit velocity is the amount of professional and entrepreneurial momentum you have when quitting your job and starting a new venture. Momentum can come from a variety of sources: investment, capital, experience, anchor clients, industry knowledge, and connections, aka unfair advantage. So the problem, and this goes back to why we don't throw conferences and why we don't have our mastermind meetup in the Bahamas. What a lot of people do, especially if they're working for someone already and they're thinking about going full time on their side project, is like, let's say they're a lawyer and they went to law school and they've been practicing law for 20 years. And then the next thing they're going to do is like sell CrossFit jump ropes or like paleo cake recipes, right? It's completely unrelated to what they're working on every single day, right? Don't get me wrong. If you hate your job as a lawyer and you love CrossFit and you want to sell to CrossFit jump ropes, that's fine. But the point is like, you're doing things now every day where you're compounding this advantage you have, right? You're doing something, someone's paying you for it, or you have a natural gift or a natural skill and you're compounding it, right? And a lot of people don't realize that like, that's a huge lever. And that's like a cudgel. That's like a sledgehammer that you can use on the next phase of your business. And so it's kind of about like relentlessly doubling down on your strengths and relentlessly avoiding your weaknesses, right? And so that to me was a massive thing. My first business was an absolute failure because I was a 22-year-old idiot trying to get in the medical tourism space, right? But my second one, I'd been working at two of the biggest tech companies in the world, managing search engine optimization. On the side, I was teaching it. I was using my own product at work. I was getting paid to do SEO every day. I had the brand credibility and I grew the side project higher than my own salary. So by the time I left, I'd stacked the deck so much in my own favor. I was like cheating so much that it was almost inevitable that it had to work. So I guess that would be my one big takeaway is like, you have a bunch of advantages right now. You're probably not fully cognizant or fully aware of like what they are. And I would highly recommend taking a step back and looking at them and making sure you identify all of your unfair advantages and use them as best as you can.
So important. So important. Dig your well before you're thirsty, right?
Ooh, that's another one for the mugs.
I know. We got mugs, we got calendars, we got posters. It's going to be great.
Sign me up.
And we're going to sell them on the new ClickMinded Etsy store because we're doing that together, right?
There you go. Did I just commit to that? Nice. All right, let's do it.
This is the man who is super focused, guardrails in place around the business. Newman, we're not doing the Etsy store.
Right.
No, absolutely not. Absolutely not. All right. How do people get connected to you, to ClickMinded, to the courses, to everything?
Yeah, we have a bunch of awesome free stuff on clickminded.com. On Twitter, I'm at Tommi Griffith. And yeah, the two fun ones we just launched that you and I were chatting about, we launched these 8-bit retro digital marketing and SEO strategy guides. If you ever played like Nintendo or Super Nintendo in the 90s, they're kind of designed like that. So they're a lot of fun. And those are free at clickminded.com.
Awesome. All right, Tommi, thank you so much. Fantastic tips, fantastic interview. And we're going to bring you back and we're going to talk about white labeling. We're going to talk about the growth of the empire. This will not be our last conversation.
Sounds good to me. David, thanks so much. Really appreciate it.
Well, that wraps up another episode of The Speaking Show. Hey, tell you what, if you like us, rate us and review us on iTunes. Subscribe. Tell a friend. Go grab the notes and downloads and extras at thespeakingshow.com. See you next time.